retired Special Forces soldier Mike arrives at a police safe house. His assignment is to protect a key witness. The police plan is to keep the witness hidden here, until he can testify in court against an arms tycoon. But they don't know, the safe house address has already been compromised. A team of professional assassins is planting shaped charges on the door. In 30 seconds, the shelter will be reduced to rubble. Everything began with a fatal moment of curiosity by a girl named Nina. She and her boyfriend Tony are just hotel staff, yet they sneaked into the penthouse suite of arms dealer Thomas. They accidentally took Thomas's laptop with them. Inside were secrets powerful enough to bring down his empire. When Tony tried to return the laptop, he was shot dead on the spot by a panicked Thomas and his bodyguards. To evade murder charges, the bodyguards calmly initiated a counter-investigation procedure. One of them took an unregistered gun, wrapped it in a handkerchief, and placed it in Tony's hand. They flawlessly staged the scene as a waiter attempting an armed attack, who was ultimately killed in self-defense. But he didn't know. There was another pair of eyes in the cloakroom that saw everything. Nina became the sole eyewitness. She chose to reveal the truth to prosecutor Sarah. Under immense pressure, Sarah denied Thomas's request for bail, but for the powerful Thomas, it was only a minor inconvenience. He had his lawyers use money and Nina's past theft to undermine the credibility of her testimony. At the same time, he activated his insider within the justice system, the prosecutor Karen. Karen's interests are deeply tied to Thomas. She immediately abused her authority to fabricate false evidence, forcing Thomas to be released on bail. Back in the open, Thomas even openly threatens Nina in front of the media cameras. Sarah anticipates just how far the other side is willing to go. He activates the witness protection program and moves Nina to a police safe house. He assigns Mike, a highly decorated retired Special Forces soldier, as her personal bodyguard. But this so-called safety net is already full of holes. Officer Wren is silently executed on a street corner. The access card on his body becomes the killer's key. Inside the safe house, Mike has just finished the handoff with Officer Haley. The TV reports Thomas's acquittal, pushing Nina into an emotional breakdown. At that moment, a violent explosion erupts outside the door. Custom explosives rip through the reinforced door in an instant. Heavily armed killers flood in, moving in tactical formation. Mike reacts like lightning, drawing his weapon and firing 2 precise shots in one motion, dropping the lead attacker. He exploits the brief moment while the enemy reloads and launches a counterattack from cover. He calmly neutralizes the first wave. Amid the chaos, Haley takes a fatal shot to protect Nina and collapses in a pool of blood. Mike knows this place is no longer survivable. He pulls the shaken Nina up and fights his way out of the apartment building. Out on the street, a second ambush is already waiting. Relying on his Special Forces instincts, Mike wipes out the attackers once again. He realizes there is a mole within the police. No official safe house can be trusted. He contacts Sheriff Henry and arranges a meet at a subway station. Mike rejects Henry's proposal to take Nina back to the station. To him, at this moment, he can trust no one but himself. To break free from police surveillance, he decisively draws his gun and restrains Henry. He cuffs him to a bench. Then he disappears into the crowd with Nina. In that moment, he went from protector to wanted fugitive. Hunted by both the underworld and the authorities, Mike took Nina back to his place. But the address registered with the police was merely a decoy prepared for this moment. When the SWAT team forced their way in, they found nothing but an empty house. The real safe house was upstairs. After shaking off the pursuit, he contacted the only person he trusted, his old comrade, Rudy. Rudy had lost both legs to a landmine in Afghanistan. It was Mike who pulled him back from the brink of death. Rudy hid them in the trunk and drove toward a farm outside the city. They were stopped by a patrol officer along the way. Under questioning, Rudy rolled up his pant legs, revealing his cold metal prosthetics. He calmly recounted his wartime experience. The officer's suspicion instantly turned into guilt and respect. He waved them through, and even closed the trunk for him. The farm offered a brief moment of peace, but Thomas had already uncovered Mike's past, a recipient of the Navy's highest honor, a genuine war hero. No longer underestimating him, he hired an elite mercenary unit. Meanwhile, Nina's diabetes became a ticking clock. Thomas had cut off every insulin supply in the city. Mike was forced to risk going back into the city for medicine. It gave the enemy their opening. The mercenaries surrounded the farm. Rudy hid Nina in a concealed room, while tucking a handgun beneath his wheelchair. He locked the doors, ready to buy Mike time with his life. The killers burst in, and Rudy played the part of a harmless disabled man. But once they noticed signs of a third person living there, their intent to kill was clear. Rudy drew his gun without hesitation and dropped one of them first. But without his legs, he couldn't evade the barrage of gunfire, and ultimately fell in a pool of blood. Mike races back and catches sight of the assassin preparing to pull out. He floors the accelerator and rams the vehicle, flipping it over. A merciless cleanup follows. He takes a bullet, but fights through the pain and charges into the house. He sees Rudy's cold, lifeless body. The death of his brother in arms fully ignites his fury. He lifts the unconscious Nina into his arms and rushes her to the hospital. The doctor's call to the police once again exposes their location. In the hospital corridor, 3 factions collide head-on. Mike, the mercenaries, and the police led by Henry arrive at the same time, and chaos erupts instantly. Badly wounded and outnumbered, Mike is shot and falls to the ground. At the critical moment, Henry lays down cover fire, but he's hit as well. Luckily, the metal flask he carries stops the bullet. Seizing the chance, Mike uses his last ounce of strength to take down the remaining enemies. He escapes once more with Nina. They eventually take refuge at the home of prosecutor Sarah, Mike's ex-girlfriend. Under Sarah's care, Mike clings to life. He returns to the farm to lay Rudy to rest, his eyes filled with nothing but icy vengeance. He knows that staying on the defensive will only get more people killed. Now it's his turn to go on the offensive. When the mercenaries surround the farm once again, Mike has already turned Rudy's arsenal into a deadly trap. He sends Sarah and Nina out through the back door to escape. He stays behind to face the entire mercenary force alone. After a brutal firefight, the cabin is completely destroyed by gunfire. Mike's fate remains unknown. Days later, Thomas and his bodyguard exit a hotel and get into their car. He believes Mike has been burned to ashes, but the bodyguard sharply notices a hidden microsurveillance device inside the car. His hands shaking, he opened the glove compartment. A cell phone wired to a bomb was ringing. With a thunderous blast, evil was consumed by fire. Far away, the corrupt prosecutor Cullen received a phone call. It was Mike. He hadn't just survived, he had engineered the perfect accident, and he held all the evidence of Cullen's crimes. Mike didn't finish him off, he gave him a choice. Label Thomas's death a gangland vendetta and drop the manhunt for him. Cullen had no choice. With everything settled, Mike went to the docks. Nina and Sarah were waiting for him. As the smoke cleared, the end of the long escape was a long-lost peace.